The Honorable Minister of State for Labor and Employment, first campaign council spokesman of the State House Corps, press corps, a very virile and very strong corps in the media, and other stakeholders in the labor industry who are here with us. We want to thank the press corps and the media assistants and advisor to Mr. President for giving us this forum to talk about our ministry. And in doing so, you have asked us to narrow ourselves to one sector, which is very good, because this sector is just the sector on how we are tackling unemployment and creating jobs and improving the work environment in Nigeria. Improving the work environment in Nigeria, if we go there, it would mean telling you everything we do in the ministry. Because to improve the work environment, we have to create the enabling milieu for work to thrive, decent work to thrive, in which case you bring in industrial disputes resolution. You bring about occupational safety and health in workplaces. You bring in implementation of the Employee Compensation Act, which is the major mandate of the Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund to take care of workers who have accidents in the course of work. You also talk about productivity, because if you don't talk about productivity, then the environment is no good if there is no production. Labor is production. You also talk about industrial arbitration panel, because the quasi judicial place for us. So I will start from the bigger leg now, which is tackling unemployment and creation of jobs. Then if we have some more time, I will just run into these other places I've mentioned. It is important that as we start to define what we've done, I must make sure you know that the triple issues of unemployment, poverty, economic disempowerment remains a disturbing feature in the life of Nigerians. And that when you go here, from unemployment you get poverty. From poverty, you will now slip into other triads of poverty, disease, and for the poor homes and poor people, ignorance will follow because of lack of education. So it is also more pertinent to point out that as we came in as a government administration in 2015, we had economic problems. Oil started selling from $100, getting down to 60, 40, at one time 30. Production also moved down, oil production, because of militancy in the Niger Delta and the rest of them all. From 2.2 million barrels a day to 1 million barrels a day. And at a point, it was also 600,000 barrels a day. What was the consequence? Nigeria moved into a recession. In 2016, actually, it started in 2015, but was felt in 2016 when we started having negative GDP growth in the country. Unemployment then rose from 9.9%, which it was then, and moved on to, as we speak, 34% and above. by the last statistics given by the MBS. So, what happened? The federal government realized that we have a very serious problem, because as we were talking about the negative growth, our population was growing astronomically, 8%. Negative growth, -3. And even now, when we started achieving the positive growth, we have not gone over 3-4%. So population is still up there. What does this mean? It means that the people who are demanding the resources of the state keep on growing, while all the resources of the state they were supposed to share keep on shrinking. There must be consequences. And that showed in unemployment. So the federal government decided to put in a technical group, youth employment and skill development, to see what we can do. Why did they concentrate on the youth? The youth in Africa and even most parts of the world, especially Africa, they consume 60% of the population. So there's a bulge in that middle. You have infants, children, then youths, the ballooned, and then you go down the aged. So as the administration was doing this, Mr. President made a pledge that we want to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty. And we started implementing the economic recovery plan, group plan, ERGP. And from the ERGP today, we are now doing, we have now moved into the medium-term National Development Plan. They are all one plan. The aim is the same. The aim is to obliterate poverty, to lift people out from poverty, to give them jobs. So the implementation of these development plans and their long-term agenda envisages greater participation of the private sector. It is not only government that creates jobs. As a matter of fact, the job of government is to give an enabling environment for job creation. Most of the jobs all over the world in other climes is created by the private sector. But here, government, I think, is the largest employer of labor, because the fortunes of the country has dived because of this economic recession. A lot of our industries are closed down. Private businesses are struggling to be on their feet. So what did the council do, the government do? First is that in the Federal Executive Council, we got out a local employment content initiative. What is the thrust of this initiative? The thrust of this initiative, as moved by us in council, was that any procurement contract for jobs, consultancy, supply of goods and works, you must give us a corresponding component of job creation opportunity that will come out from that particular contract or jobs being executed. The statistics are not too wonderful, but it has at least helped us. There are foreign consultants coming in here, employing no consultant from Nigeria, and bringing in foreign partners and their brothers and sisters had ended, because you must show us what you have done with the Nigerian people here. So it's part of the local content bill, executive order that President signed, Executive Order 3 and 5. So we employed it here. It gave us some good results. All those billions you see being announced by Ministry of Works and Housing and other ministries, they come with a job creation content. And the statistics are captured by the MBS and our office. We also put in a national action plan on employment creation, initiated that action plan with 11 key sectors, great potential for job creation. These are in the areas of agriculture, food security. In agriculture, especially during the COVID, that was when we pushed it and pushed it. Rural rules were being done and every other thing were being done to make sure we produce what we eat. Commerce and industry, a lot of MSC, MEs, people were encouraged. Even during COVID, they were being given free money to make their enterprise okay. Power and energy, works and housing, like I said before, information technology, education, health, tourism, and national development. Perhaps I might mention here that it is because of the problem we had in doing a synergy between all these agencies, MDAs that we mentioned, that informed Mr. President to approve that we have a job creation office. It's not yet been formalized, but we have an SSA, Theodore Megwa here, who has very wide experience in job creation and local content here with us. She is now discussing all these ministries because the synergy, like I said, was not there, and silo working was the order of the day. But with that office, even though it came late, it was created last year, early last year, I think. But we are hopeful that it's the department of the future. We want to grow it to be like the budget office of the Federation, which you know that the ministry is Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, but still there's a budget office of the Federation coordinating all the budgetary input of all the ministries and monitoring and making sure the right thing are done. So Mr. President in his wisdom has created that office. We will pass that office on to the new administration coming in. Luckily, it's an APC government, to make good use of it because it will help us to define what we are doing. We had the national employment policy too in that same direction. It was designed to enable private sector drive the process of employment generation in the country. We also have, as a ministry, tried to do some of our own in partnership with foreign donors, GIZ, and the rest of them all. We started opening up job centers. They were created to provide employment and promotional services and ease of job seekers in the labor and employment in the sector of the economy, in line with ILO Convention 088 on employment services. Today, presently, we have 19 job centers established. We have another 19 in the offing. In the 2022 budget, implementation is on for it. And these job centers, like I said before, their major functions, employment of promotional service for job seekers, organization of monthly employment trainings for unemployed youth, and you need to train these unemployed persons, talk to them. Even career, you educate them. A lot of them don't have that education in the universities or polytechnics or whatever they have studied. So these are the things we want to do. We don't have enough. The idea is that we're going to establish them in the 774 local governments of the country. We don't have enough. But the good news is that as we don't have enough, our agency, the NDE, is also, with their own little resources, doing things in that same direction, especially in the area of coaching applicants, organizing clinics, and sharing information, doing job fairs. The GIZ have been very helpful in the area of doing job job fairs. You can see the photograph of the few job centers where they are. We have in Bauchi, we have in Kaduna, we have in Lagos, Abuja, and I think Edo. We also have in the southeast, I think Enugu, and every geopolitical zone is represented. So this is what we are doing with the job centers. Again, in terms of direct job creation, because job creation is a multifaceted thing. It runs across. It runs across. Our ministry has job centers, skill development centers. We have the specialist ones, and we have the vocational ones. And we have tried again to locate them in all the geopolitical zones. Presently, we have 125 spread across the 6 geopolitical zones, and they are doing about 68 approved trades: carpentry, painting, welding, digital training, painting, bricklaying, POP, and the rest of them. The statistic there shows you what we do, and you can see that we are trying, but we're not yet there, because the people we're talking about are in millions, and the white-collar jobs are no longer there. There are very, very few. Well, because the white-collar job belongs to government and those you can call elitist companies. So that's why we, as a ministry, using our skill development department, moved in there. NDE is also doing their own. NDE is one of our parastatals. It's a directorate on employment. That is, again, an intervention body created during the military, I think 1988 or 1987, and it's still alive. They are doing their own. I don't even think that these figures are combined figures. It's not combined figures. With the combined figures, it will be much, much, much bigger. The total combined figures are in this other document, which I asked them to bring so that if needs be, we can give you the figures. But like I said, this is another area where we need to do much more work. Why? Because the state governments are creating skill development centers. State governments. We have tried to see if we can harmonize and get the proper census. It's not been easy. National Assembly members are creating skill acquisition centers as constituency projects. So they are scattered all over the Federation. As a matter of fact, in terms of National Assembly constituency project, after primary health care centers, which they have scattered all over the country, today we have more than 13,000 primary health care centers, out of which about only 25% is being utilized as we speak. The next thing that has come up with this is the skill acquisition centers. A lot of them have been just the building, no furnishing. A lot of them have been the building and furnishing. So we are making effort to see how we can harness it. We tried a census 4 years ago, and we gathered something, but that's not enough. The good thing now is that there's an information platform, NLC, which the ministry has now done. It's part of what we are going to use NLC for. When I come to NLC, that's labor exchange centers, I will let you know about that. So if you look at the skill centers, a lot of them are operational. Those that are not operational now, we have decided that we are going to have a handshake with the state governments where they're domiciled and do a partnership. After all, the people are in the states. So that is the table on that. We have the 125. Some are still under construction. There are mini ones, especially southwest, and we have also some going on in the south too. So that is that on the skill acquisition centers. There is what is also called Migrant Resource Center. It's a one-stop shop for promoting safe, orderly, and regular labor migration in Nigeria through information dissemination. This is to assist potential migrants to be properly reintegrated into the society. The MLCs are located in Lagos. What they are doing there is that a lot of people come back after migrating illegally abroad. They come back frustrated. So this is like a rehabilitation center for them. They come here, they are lectured on integration and giving business startup advice and business registration support. We organize information campaign on the risk of irregular migration for them. We also say that those who want to migrate can come there and be educated on the potentials of what they are going to face. We will also do more in this direction because, as you know, Nigeria has ratified the Convention on Migrant Persons, which we had deposited at the ILO Governing Board just last Friday. So it is something that we need to pay attention to. If you look at it, we have 32,000 persons provided with business startups, support measures, male and female, you can see their number. 238,000 provided with business advisory. 5,420 provided with socio-economic registration support. 1,200 supported with psycho-social support, counseling services, and the beneficiaries, about 2,617 are in internship. Male versus female. The females are more. We have 25,000 placed in employment from there, and we have 55,000 provided with career development counseling, employment and vocational trainings. We draw from there for those who want to train. We have asked the foreign embassies, especially Italy and Germany, where these people migrate to do more. They are. GIZ is German-based, but we need them to do more because it's cheaper for them to put the money here so that people are rehabilitated here than when they get over there, they become some nuisance. We have also not encouraged them to go over there illegally. That's one of the essence of that center. And again, the ministry through the labor offices, that's the area I say that if we go there, it will take us a lot. Because improving and attaining decent work environments for well-being of workers, very omnibus, and if we put it out, it will be too big to discuss today. But you can see the statistics that are there. We conducted inspections to make sure that workplaces are well done for the workers and civil servants and people in the private sector. There are certain things you must have. You must have creches for women. You must have first aid boxes and area. For larger organizations, we ask them to put up a clinic, and the rest of them. They are product of labor inspection and occupational safety and health. Same goes with what we are doing in child labor. We want to stop child labor. We are collaborating with the American Department of Labor on this because child labor is not good. It's part of retrogression. It's part of fueling poverty and insurgency because You have denied the child the right to go to school, and then they oppose a menace to the countries, both security and otherwise. I want to use the opportunity to say that we are happy with the United States Labor Department, the U.S. government. They want us to do labor, child labor activities. And we are telling them that child labor sometimes results out of poverty. The farmer who is taking the child to the farm doesn't want to engage other people to come and work. That's why they take their children and go, their wives and go. So it's more of a socio-cultural thing. And now poverty is also driving it. So this year, or late last year, they have made $5 million available to fight poverty in the cocoa producing areas, mining areas, and for women, for Nigeria, and I think Nigeria and Liberia. They also did another one for Nigeria alone, $4 million. I think it's being done through the ILO, but our ministry is a driver, and they appointed their consultants who also join us to drive it. So there is some progress. We have also, in the ministry, improved our decent work environment. Like I said, Statutory Enforcement of Factories Act 2004 through workplace inspections, accident investigation, workplace safety, and child health. We also regulate occupational safety and health practices through formulation, implementation, and periodic review of the relevant policies, guidelines, and standards. There are regulations flowing out from the Factories Act. We also do workplace sensitization, intervention, and emerging occupational safety health issues through that. In mediation, we are facilitating mediation, conciliation, arbitration, adjudication, and labor disputes. Like I said earlier, that is the only way you can create an enabling environment for work, increase productivity, and make sure that the economy does not suffer the losses that accompany industrial disputes like strikes. We also facilitate enhancement training, dispute resolution, performance enhancement training at MINUS. We facilitate development and implementation of national policy on industrial relations. We have also the labor administration guidelines in the oil and gas sector is the backbone of the economy. So we review it because there are emerging problems all the time between the oil workers and employers. And we make sure that at least decent work agenda is enthroned in that facilitation so that we don't have any strike we have in that area affects an oil platform, oil and gas platform. And once production goes down, by Agip or by Shell or by Statoil or by any of those places, the Nigeria's production barrel, quantum per day, must go down. So that month, we will not meet our quota. So that's why it's a key area, and we are doing whatever we can. We have rapid response desk, industrial rapid response desks in all the states, especially in the South, because of oil being the mainstay of our economy. We have also done the sectorial guideline for key sectors in health, education, power, and banking and finance. Banking and finance is the latest, and I think that is very, very encouraging because that's another area of the economy that we can't take lightly. Yesterday, we had to move very quickly to bring the CBN and the Nigerian Labour Congress to the table, because we're already talking about cash crunch. We don't know what will then happen if we allow them to go and picket the CBN branches all over the Federation. It means that the banks in those areas will not have supply of money. So if you are talking about low quantum of money being given you, you then move from low quantum to zero. So we don't want that. And we also have done the guidelines, like I said here. The other thing to mention is that, like I said, the administration wants to see what we can do to fight poverty. The administration embarked, especially even before COVID came, that we will do what we can call ad hoc jobs, employment, ad hoc job creation. And those ad hoc job creation during the administration before us was situated in what they call Shopee program. They did it, but when we came, it was domiciled in the office of the vice president. When it was called Shopee, it was domiciled in the Ministry of Labor and Employment, because they are ad hoc employment. You have in that area Empower programs, we have Jeep, we have trader money, you have graduate graduate internship scheme, I think 1 year internship scheme, all in totality are designed to fight poverty and to fight unemployment. The Empower provides at least 1 year after MYSC for those group of people to have another breather. In fact, in the first set, we had to do it for 2 years. I think it's first and second set, we had to give them 2 years. You also know that during the COVID, we had to do the special works program managed by the Minister of State, and it was supposed to be 1,000 jobs for people of all sorts, just to do something and get money for that period. And 774 times 1,000 was 774,000. I think we did about 90% of target. Honourable Minister, 97% of the target. So it's not a mean thing. So whether we like it or not, this administration have tried to fight poverty. We have, within the lean resources available to us, within the means of what we saw or what we got, what we earned. And it's not a small thing now to get Nigeria out of recession. Some other people are still battling with their recession. In fact, as a matter of fact, as I speak, in Europe, especially in the UK, the battle is still on. The government is still trying to survive. And that's why they have had a change of administration of 3 prime ministers, because things are not adding up. So it's only here that people don't want to appreciate the little or the much we have done. But government is a continuum. The incoming government, luckily, is our own. Areas of challenges, we will assist them by giving them the requisite blueprints of what we have not done. Because we cannot say we have achieved what we wanted to achieve 100%. We have not. But we can give ourselves a pass mark and say that we've done our best. So I want to thank you people very much for listening to us. And I will sit down, take the questions. The one that is for the Senior Special Assistant on Job Creation, he will take. The one for Honourable Minister of State, Labour and Employment, he will take. The ones for me, I will take. And the ones they cannot take, I will take it. Thank you very much. Yeah, the young lady asked me about the CBN vis-a-vis the NLC and the meeting we held yesterday. Yes, the Nigerian Labour Congress wrote us to say that the cashless policy is affecting Nigerians very badly, and that among these Nigerians is affecting that their members are affected. You know, in industrial relations, we have what we call dispute of right and dispute of interest. When it's just your interest, you can make a dispute, especially overseas. When it is your right, especially with their direct employers, so to say, over wages, over condition of service, and your right. So, whether it is a dispute of interest or dispute of right, we have different interpretations as per by ILO. So we normally like, as a ministry, as conciliators, to always apprehend any dispute, whether it's dispute of interest or dispute of right. If you want to go into some parlance now, you will say that this is a dispute of interest. But they have veered it into that it's affecting their members in their work. And rightly, they are very clever people. They wrote me. Because trade dispute matters in the Constitution, second schedule, item 34, is the sole prerogative of the Ministry of Labor and Employment. It's an exclusive legislatively, so the National Legislature, National Assembly, and the Ministry of Labor, representing the executive, are the sole people that handle it. So when they did that, we had to forward the letter to the CBN governor and told him in our own letter that he should act promptly because they gave a deadline. The deadline expired last Friday, and we acted before that Friday. And we asked the CBN to also act before that Friday. So we did that before I left for Geneva. Then my permanent secretary and my Minister of State, all followed up. And then the CBN did the right thing. Because we were inviting them for a meeting yesterday, which is Monday, that same Friday, they made contact with the leadership of NLC and opened up the discussions. It was part of the discussion, which is social dialogue, which is what we advocate, that when you discuss, you will not go to war. You will not go to strike. You will not go to picketing. You must resolve something on the table, because even if you go to war or you go to strike, at the end of the day, you must come to the table. So, there and then the CBN assured them of certain things they will do, and assured the ministry of certain things they will do. And they kickstarted them immediately, which is to give more cash, bigger volume cash to the money deposit banks, or the commercial banks as you call them, for them to dispense to their customers. And even order that the banks should work on Saturday and Sunday under their supervision. And that is ongoing, because I saw some banks open on Saturday by the time I came back, and even on Sunday. So now they have all answered our call, because we are the chief conciliator. We had to call everybody to the table. And then in calling them, in my opening remark, I said, I noticed that there is already a dialogue going on, and there is also implementation. And the Nigerian Labour Congress agreed that there is some thawing of the freeze or icing that was there. And so that they will now call up their National Executive Council meeting, because the initial decision to give that ultimatum was given by this same council. Members of this council reside in the states and in the local government. so that they will come up today, which is Tuesday, the 28th, to review the situation. But as much as it is, the important thing that we have emphasized to them that we have apprehended this dispute. And by Section 7(8) of Trade Disputes Act, once the minister apprehends and starts conciliation on it, you maintain status quo, ante bellum. So they are gone back now to review the situation. If they are not satisfied with what they are saying, they will come back to me. And I'll invite the CBN again. But for now, the issue of discussion is no longer strike. The issue of discussion is implementation and how far it's gone and how far it affects Nigerian workers and the general populace. So that is it. So the final decision will be done today by NEC, and they will then do a resolution. Of course, and inform me and CBN what their resolution is. But like I said, we have apprehended and we are now conciliating. It's not a major conciliation anymore because the two parties on their own have started the dialogue and started the implementation. So we are now umpires and monitoring. So I can assure you that the right thing will be done today in their NEC. Thank you. That's the first question. You talked about the incoming administration, and now we say we can help them. Yes, we are, like I said, it's the same party. That makes it even better. And we are doing our notes, handover notes, and doing the transition committees. The transition committee have been kickstarted. They are visiting MDAs for you to give your handover notes, in which you also will propose things for them and even talk about your challenges. We have done the first batch of interaction with our own group, comprising economists, NESG, and who? Yeah, transition train station in the office of the SGF. So we have done the first round. We are going to do more rounds. And whatever is left, we'll put it in the notes. Industrial dispute, you say, what are we going to do with them? The incoming administration and the industrial dispute. No. Industrial dispute must exist. It will always ever exist. As I was coming back, the pilot and the crew that were bringing us back said they will now spend 5 days in Abuja. I said, why? They said because the German airport people say they will not work on Monday and Tuesday. Because that's how it's done there. You choose the days and inform your employers. Because once you kickstart an industrial dispute of strike anywhere, the principle of employer keeping his industry alive kickstarts too. In Nigeria, they call it no work, no pay. It is in our statute, it is in our law. It's Section 43 of Trade Dispute Act that the employer will keep his money and use it to keep his industry afloat. And that the worker will not be paid remunerations. And that if the union wants, that's an ILO Convention on Principles of Strike, the union can pay their workers for those periods. And that's why the period of strike in other climes, in Europe and the rest of them, have definite time that it will be done. Because the union will be paying from their union fund, or what they call strike fund. They keep it in their budget. It's there. So if you're going to strike, your members will agree with you we're going on strike. And members will agree with you on what the remuneration will be for the period of the strike. It could be 80% of their normal remuneration. So they forfeit 20. Just for them to go on the strike and make their point. Everybody, you have a right to strike. But the employer also has his own right to protection. Self-protection, self-preservation of his industry and self. So this is what is there. So We will only hand over the Trade Dispute Act to the incoming administration. And the next labor minister will be handling the disputes as they come. Will the disputes come? Yes, why not? Condition of service. There is an increased cost of living, even in Europe now. Most of the agitation is for increased cost of living. But they are asking for pay rise that are realizable. 5% pay rise, 10% pay rise. Unlike here, when people are asking for 40%, 50%. So that is what is there. So the incoming administration will also use the laws, the enabling laws, the constitution, the acts, the various acts, and then handle trade dispute. But more importantly, as we are living, President Muhammad Buhari is making it easy for the incoming administration because the issue of pay rise, especially for cost of living, is being addressed. Nearly holistically. If you watch the newspapers or the media, you read about them. The pay rise increases all over. The issue now is what quantum. Even the so-called ASU strike that happened, the logjam was on the percentage increase. And that was why the thing lasted that long, because they abandoned the negotiations and opted for the issue of strike. So any organization that the workers abandon negotiation is against the labor laws. So we don't envisage that they will have any problem, especially with these pay rises that are coming on within their available funds, because we are not doing pay rise for the incoming administration not to carry it. We are doing it with, the principle of ability to pay. It's the guiding principle in collective bargaining agreement negotiation between employer and employee. So this government is doing just that. We are being careful about that in the Presidential Committee on Salaries and Wages, which Mr. President put in place 2 years ago. So that is the much I can say about that one. Data, accurate data. In the former times, when we had in the Ministry of Labor the Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission, and in the department called Employment and Wages. If you remember, people, when they finish school, they go and register. Whether in Kaduna or Enugu, they go to labor offices and register. And they will stay in their home and they will be called and say there's work in here. Most people preferred the government work then, but PZ and the rest of them all make use of those whatever. So the data on employment today is being managed by Bureau, MBS, National Bureau of Statistics. But they still make use of our labor officers in the states and their own officers, so they work conjointly to bring up what you are talking about. Then for the formal and informal data, yes, I didn't make it, I said I would talk about it, but I didn't talk about it. That is our NLX, National Labor Exchange, Electronic Labor Exchange. The Federal Executive Council and Mr. President approved for us to revive our National Electronic Labor Exchange. It was in our ministry, even before digitalization became the vogue. But as the day go by, it was shrinking. And the other agencies wanted to assist, but the assistance was not good enough. So the Federal Executive Council now approved that we upgrade it. And working with digital economy, that platform is now up. I think they are trying to do test run, and when they finish the test run, it will start operation. Among what it's supposed to do is to provide employers and job seekers with a platform to find each other at no cost to the job seeker. it is also to match job seekers with relevant job opportunities. So the job opportunities will be uploaded there. And you look, you go and say, I want this job. That job will show you the qualifications and cognate experience maybe that is needed for you to clinch such a job. If you have it and you push it in, they will link you up with the employer. This is what that exchange will do. It will aggregate jobs advertised also by private sector across the country through various online job boards. They will all be loaded there. The NLC is equipped with online e-learning educational certification to upgrade and optimize skills of young graduates who are users of NLC. So the NLC is coming. And in coming, it is one of the doors into it again is for a labor market information system to be applied. So this is what I want to say about this. And the leg of question of formal and informal, the informal sector will use this NLC more than any other person. If you're an artisan, you go and you just click in and register yourself. When people need carpenters or whatever, and go there, they will find you and talk to you and call you, speak with you on that platform. So that is one of the things we want to do. And it will also help us in certification of persons. Because once it's on now, it will have a handshake with MBTE, and have a handshake with our NDE, have a handshake with even MSME and Corporate Affairs Commission, everybody, so that it's a one shopping point and will be useful to all of us. The next questioner was talking about migration. The labor migration you're talking about. You are now saying that apart from the medical doctors, that an area which people have not noticed is the digital side, where our software engineers and gurus, scientists, are also migrating. My take on this is simple. You can't stop migration. Even the doctors people are talking about, there is migration of doctors from one continent to the other. If you go to Australia or you go to other parts of Europe, you will see British citizens who are doctors. They are migrated to that place. You will also see those who are migrated from Africa into Saudi Arabia, and from Saudi Arabia to the United States. So migration is something you cannot stop. You can't stop it. I've always said it, that I'm not against it. The only area I'm against is that if you're a doctor and we have trained you here at no cost, at little or no cost, because your school fees is only 48,000 naira a year, whereas your counterpart in UK is paying 70,000 pounds a session to be trained as a medical doctor, and he's taking a loan. Your counterpart in America, $80,000 without residential. They take a loan, and they come out and they're paying these loans back to their country. Now you are here, you pay 48,000. I don't know the equivalent in dollar now. Whether it's up to, is it up to $100? You pay it, and you finish here, because that thing means that your education is subsidized by government. It's subsidized. Because a good quality medical education should cost nothing less than 3 million naira a session. 3 to 5 million That's the equivalent of $100,000 or thereabout. So, if that is it, the sense of patriotism should be there, that you should give some service to your country before moving. That's all I'm saying. But as for the migration itself, it has benefits and its own downside. What is the downside? The downside is that they are just living like that without giving back anything, and leaving others that are here to bear heavy working time or heavy duty time. That's all. So the NMA and the Ministry of Health have formed a committee, and we're looking at that. The same goes for the digital people we are talking about. You can't cage them here. You can't. And the good thing is that all these people, they do home remittances. They get money, they send back here to their relatives. The statistics given us by the central bank, I think in 2021, home remittances, $28 to $30 billion. Oil sales and their accompanying things, $18 billion. So which one is better for you now? And they come back with better knowledge. Some come with better equipment. Some come back and establish bigger hospitals. You go to Lagos, you see what they're establishing. Go to Port Harcourt, you see the Japan people coming back again with their savings, their big savings, foreign currency. And they come back with all sorts of machines. And they're helping. If you go to Lagos, they're doing all sorts of transplant there. They are doing heart surgery, they are doing implantation of all sorts of gadgets in the heart. These are benefits. They were trained there. Some of those who are also trained here, join them when they come back, and they're working together. So I don't brook anything about it. Our own, as Labor Ministry, that concerns us is what we have done now. We have gotten Nigeria to ratify the Convention 143 on immigrants, labor immigrants, and protection for them and their families. They have better condition of service, so that if they are maltreated there, we intervene, and that country will listen. And their own people can also come here freely and look for our own job, and maybe earn naira if they want to earn naira. Now, Gloria Umezoke for Channel News. Gloria, we are proactive. You are saying we are not. We are proactive. We have conciliated about 4,000 labor disputes. More than, I think 4,300 something since I came to that ministry. And you don't hear about them because we get notice, we call them to come. Some of them are not very big unions, especially in the oil and gas. You don't hear about them because we are forever doing what we're supposed to do. Again, I am not the only conciliator. The Ministry of Labor holistically conciliates. He's a conciliator. The time he handled the staff of Nike, Hilton, and others. We don't make that one public because they agree almost immediately. The meeting ground is easy. You won't see strike. So we are proactively, once you write us and inform us of a pre-action notice, it's called TDN in labor parlance, trade dispute notice. Once you do that, you have exercised your right legally. The rest is left for us and whoever you are complaining about. It's not only workers that write us. Employers also write us. Shell will write us and say, we're having a problem with these people. Because they are work to rule, they refuse to work, they're sitting down there. Or they have picketed the gate and refused entry of people. You won't hear those ones, because immediately we will apprehend and call the workers to come. If we cannot get them to Abuja, especially if it's in the states, our state offices, they are doing conciliation on a permanent basis, because we have what we call labor dispute desk. Not only do we have labor dispute desk in the states, we have what we call rapid response, especially in oil and gas. Rapid response, because we know the implication. Sorry? Not where? No, ASU is a monolithic organization now. You can't do anything in the state with them. They have only one monolithic body. And their state branches are just appendages. They can't take decision. No one branch can take a decision. So you can't do rapid response with ASU. Unless it's a local action, not a national action. But rarely do they do local action. The people who do local action are NASU, SANU, and this other union. They do local action in a particular institution. And then they resolve it with their management. If they can't, our branch there, the labor state office there, the controller will get to them and invite them. Same goes for companies. Many companies in Lagos, they don't come here. We don't. We have a virile labor office inspectorate in Lagos. In fact, we have 2 directors there and many deputy directors. So we are proactive. The one you see nationally is when they write us and tell us that they are moving to go on strike. That's when we invite them to the ministry and we start conciliation with them. So the one of NLC now, they have to do their working committee and national executive committee and then communicate us the decisions. They do decisions because there was no strike attached to it. We sent it to CBN. Thereafter, they followed it up with a strike notice. And that was when we invited them to come. And we told the CBN what to do, and they did exactly what we asked them to do. Engage them, and they did. So we are proactive enough, and we are doing quite a lot of work, volume of work in that particular area of industrial disputes. I haven't said so. They will go to their NEC today, and then from their NEC, they will brief their members on the outcome of our meeting yesterday. But I'm optimistic that... Yes, yes. That's what I told them. They, NLC, affirmed that there is an improvement in the cash flow. They praised the CBN at our last meeting yesterday and told them to improve. And that they are going to now do NEC, National Executive Committee, that took the initial decision of that if this doesn't improve, by Friday, we will go, that's our ultimatum. Wednesday, which is tomorrow, we will go on strike. So that NEC meeting is meeting today to review the situation. People from the states and local government and members of the NEC, they will now report today in their labor house here. I think the meeting is ongoing now. So I'm optimistic there will be no strike. I'm optimistic there will be no strike because we have apprehended, like I told you. Who is laughing there? This apprehension is not for a thief. Oh. It's apprehension of a dispute. In fact, I was asking them why are they using the word apprehended, and they showed me where it is in the Labor Act. So the other question is Migrant Resource Center. You have good knowledge about it from your question. We have in Lagos, we have in Abuja, and I can also tell you that IOM, the International Organization on Migration, is working hand in hand with us. In fact, they equipped the first 5 migrant resource centers for us, and they saw the benefits. So it's a continuous, ongoing exercise. People will always go out illegally. You said 13,000 came back from India and Libya. Yes, they will rehabilitate them there. They will cancel them first. After canceling them, they will give them business opportunities and whatever. And after lecturing them, those who want to go for skill will be sent to the skill centers. When they come back, IOM also assists us within their resources and our own resources, and that of ILO, we do some empowerment for them. If they have learned a trade, we give them certain things called starter packs and starter whatever for their trade. So we are in collaboration with IOM. They're a very strong partner. Asu Nasu Sanu, Don Bosco Vanguard. Yes, your friends in Sanu and Nasu. He always covers all their congresses and everything. So I don't know whether he's a consultant there. I didn't say so. I didn't say so. But once somebody is neck deep with these people and know they are in and out and everything, you will call him a consultant. So your friends complied with the Labor Act. They gave a TDN, trade dispute notice, of an impending dispute with their employers, Ministry of Education, their direct employer. Ministry of Education represents the federal government. The issues they raised, some of them have been addressed. Some of them are emergent ones. So they struck. I think 1 month after ASU or so, they started their own. We conciliated, we apprehended and brought them to the table, conciliated, and agreed on everything except one: condition of service, wage increase. That's the major thing, that condition of service. And we asked them to go back to education, led by the executive secretary of NLC and the man in tertiary, and they took them back to education. They were still on strike. Ordinarily, once we apprehend, they are supposed to call off. That's what the law says. But they didn't call off. John Bosco, they didn't call off. So, ASU now said there's double dealing, or double standard. I said there was no double standard. I gave you for 1 month, what do we call it now? Reprieve, yeah. But he didn't call off. So I'm also giving these people 1 month. It's after 1 month, and if they don't call off, I will invoke the Trade Dispute Act, Section 43. I didn't make the law. The law is there. And people misunderstand it when these people are going on strike. Labor Ministry is not their employer. We are not. The only thing is that Labor Ministry is lucky to have me as Labor Minister and also have me in the Presidential Committee on Salaries. I go to the two places. I wear double cap. So I can guide a union on what you do so that it will be not cumbersome for you to get what you want. I can also guide the education, the parent ministry. Do this for them so that this thing will be fast. And so that's what I did. And so they went back to education and met with the BRICS committee and started negotiating their pay rise, the percentage. But they were still insistent on being on strike. So I invoked the no work, no pay on them. And by August, when they were continuing, ASU, from February 14 to August, I had to invoke a transmitter power given to me by the same Trade Dispute Act, Section 17, that where negotiations had failed, because education wrote me to say they had failed in the negotiation with these people. First, they wrote for ASU. I transmitted it to National Industrial Court of Nigeria. For National Industrial Court of Nigeria to pronounce on all these issues they raised, which ones can they get and to what extent? Because their employer have said they cannot do most of this. They have done A, B, C, D, and that is only 2 items. Condition of service, wage increase that's outstanding. So pronounce on it. Also pronounce for us whether they can get emolument and remuneration during period of strike. It's in the law, but they're telling me that that law doesn't exist. Everybody say, oh, have sympathy and do. Please, look at it. That court is meeting today. So I don't want to preempt the court. I will not say anything again. I won't answer your question directly on why they are not paid. The court is looking into it today. If the court says that they are entitled to their payment, to their salaries and remuneration, they will get it. If they don't say that, then so be it. But it's a matter for court. If I start pronouncing on it or discussing it again, it's sub judice. Bosco. Consultant Bosco. You know what to do. Advise them properly. I think I'm done. I'm done.
No, the BBC.
Sorry.
Textile.
Textile. Private sector. It's private sector and textile. Textile is part of private sector. Government knows the importance of private sector. Comrade Isaremu, I thought I saw you here. He's a textile man. You can tell them the few things they have done and where we are on textile. It's a big sector. He worked there, but he's not part of government. He's the DG of MINILS, Michael Imodu Institute of Labor Studies in Ilorin. So over to you, DG.
All right, the Honorable Minister. Okay, I didn't bargain for this.
Tell them all the efforts and everything on the drawing table.
Well, the Honorable Minister, I would like to adopt all the outstanding recognitions. Actually, I thought I'm here as the Director General of Michael Imodu Labour Institute, but for a long time I was also the General Secretary of Textile Workers Union. So I would like to bear witness to what the Honorable Minister said, that this administration has done so much to promote the revival of the textile, garment, and cotton value chain in the country. In 2017, very unprecedented, President Muhammad Buhari hosted us at the villa here. All the textile employers of labor, the union officials, we spent quality 3 hours, with the president, and he made the commitment for the revival of the industry. In fact, it was there he reaffirmed the Executive Order 003, which made it mandatory for all agencies, including schools, uniform agencies, to patronize Made in Nigeria. And that executive order has been very, very significant to preserve the existing few factories that are still existing. Because now the president emphasized that we must buy what we produce and at the same time produce what we normally wear, with kits for our parents. Not only that, the president directed the Central Bank of Nigeria to make sure that the CBN creatively, encourage those industries, including textiles, that produce locally, so that foreign exchange will not be made available for importations where we can produce locally. The normal 32 items which CBN, announced. That included textile, and which means that you can't access foreign exchange to import textiles directly from abroad, and that has also encouraged few factories that are existing now. Then the last one I can remember is that CBN spent quality time with the army, the police, immigration, the uniform agencies to make sure that their clothes are produced locally. So I would like to say if you had effort also with respect to energy, because without electricity, there cannot be industrialization. Most of the factories closed down because of problem of power sector. I also know there have been a lot of creative interventions, especially some cluster states like Kaduna, to make sure that electricity is made available directly to those factories. But it's not yet over. Maybe what we need to do is that Ministry of Trade and Investment will have to engage more with the stakeholders to address other issues, because we can produce locally. Customs have to do more to stop smuggling, because a lot of smuggled materials are still coming to the country, and some of them of poor qualities, but because consumers deal with price, these goods come to the country very cheap, and in that case, they invade our market. You also have second-hand clothes, which already, occupy most of our market. So what I want to say in summary is that it's a very good question that has been raised. In fact, textile can engage direct jobs of close to 50 million workforce. When textile was textile in Kaduna, you know the story. I mean, you used to be in Kaduna as the labor officials that time. Where Kakuri textile, Kakuri, Nasarawa. In Kano, you have Bompai. Of course, the entire Lagos, Ilupeju, Ikeja, Aswani, very well. And this has been the commitment of President Muhammad Buhari to bring back these factories. In fact, our union that time, we gave a special award to the president for his commitment to textile revival, the first to host us and to make pronouncement in terms of executive order 003, which the industry has cashed on. But it's not over until the industries come back. Honorable Minister, I didn't bargain for this, sir.
Yes, thank you. But you didn't tell them, or you forgot. The CBN has special fund for cotton growers. Oh yeah, cotton growers, yeah, that's fine. Because also there was a time, we couldn't get the raw materials, cotton, and the intervention through the development financing, the cotton intervention has been very decisive, which has now made us to be self-sufficient now in cotton production. The challenge is to translate this product to spinning, weaving, and finished goods. And after the finished goods, fabrics, we should be able to patronize and buy them and make sure the market is also protected against smuggling. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, sir, well done. Yeah, that's it. Oh, yeah. Gloria, the new government will handle the challenge that will be there. It's like a pregnancy now. You want to go and start buying clothes now for the baby or whatever. You don't know whether it will be a boy or a girl. So you're asking us to put palliative now for something that has not happened. No, it's by the corner, we know. But all those are things we will now do in handover. We will give proposals. But it's left for the incoming government to take it or leave it and address the issue as as best as they deem fit. But definitely, like I told you, we're already handling some of the envisaged challenges. We are handling the issue of pay rise. I say all MDAs are doing that. Even for federal civil servants, There's a peculiar allowance. It's a vision for them. The Presidential Committee on Salaries has approved it. We've sent it to Mr. President, and Mr. President will approve. And once he approves it, implementation will start for them. Other people in the public service, in agencies, MDAs, are also taking a cue. Some are giving 5% rise, some are giving 10%. We did for MPA, we did for NIMASA under the Presidential Committee on Salary. So we're not folding our hands. Based on the ability to pay, those agencies that are generating funds and which funds can fall under their running costs or overhead costs or personnel or whatever, they bring their request and it's looked at. So these are all envisaged as part of the cushioning that has started now and will continue. Government is a continuum. Even if it's not our own government that is coming, any government that is coming will have looked at it in their own way. Nobody will fold hands and say, oh, we remove petrol subsidy and it doesn't matter. It matters. We have done studies, this particular government. We have done studies. We have done study on how to use gas-fired vehicles. We have also done studies on what we should do with transportation. They are all there. And we'll pass them on to the next government. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Minister of State will talk to you on...
just quickly, just to give you, not even an update this time because we're wound up already, a full report on, but I'll do it quickly, on the 774. Like the minister said, he was surprised they didn't ask because too many people raised so many questions about the program, and it's important we just give a report on it. Most of the misconceptions about the program arose from the fact that many people did not understand why the program was instituted in the first place. Now, that program was a post-COVID-19 palliative program. It was one of the components of the various programs that the federal government designed to cushion the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic. And luckily, the Honorable Minister was part of the federal government committee that designed the Economic Sustainability Committee that designed all of these palliatives. So that little component came to the Federal Ministry of Labor and was domiciled in the NDE. So it was not a frivolous program that the government designed, like many people said, tried to insinuate, designed to just start giving people money without reason. No. In other climes, and I'm sure you saw that in Europe and many other places, in order to also to quell social unrest after the lockdowns, many people were thrown out of jobs, and especially the people who were affected were the lower class, and perhaps part of the middle class were affected more by the lockdowns around the world. So that was a program to address that issue particularly, to ensure that there will be no social unrest as a result of loss of jobs. In other places, people did not even have to work. Monies were delivered in envelopes to their doorsteps, and I'm sure you all saw that in Europe, in America. America printed money and gave to people at their doorsteps. Here in Nigeria, we even required them to do some menial jobs. And so there was no basis to criticize our policy on it at all. It was designed by the Economic Sustainability Committee. So that is the design of the program. And it was domiciled in the National Director of Employment under the supervision of this ministry. Just to say that it was carefully worked out in terms of the modalities for implementation and all that, and approved by Mr. President. At the end of the day, we succeeded in paying 704,000. Is that, am I correct? Nearly 750,000. 76. Okay, we paid 760 something thousand. We're supposed to pay 774. So that is about 96.7% success, paid by the federal government. And just to also let
local governments.
The local governments, I mean paid by the federal government to 1,000 persons per local government. Just to also let you know that, contrary to the speculations by members of the public, these monies were paid directly from the central bank, straight to the accounts of the beneficiaries in the different states. So we did not even see any money at all. We just saw
paper.
It was direct payment from the first central bank, not even to banks first.
Excuse me, please, Emeritus Chairman, are we ending this program? No, but is it fair that then the ministers are seated? We are finishing now. Can you give him tea in the next room? Give him tea in the next room, so that we will attend to him. Please don't.
Okay. So we're just rounding off now. Yes.
Please, we're ending it now.
This aspect is very important for purpose of accountability and openness. So from the central bank directly to individual accounts, it's not that monies were brought to one bank first and we kept the money, or kept in the ministry or the agency. No. So we just sent the list to the central bank, and the central bank directly credited individual accounts. And we have also instructed the DG of the NDE to make that list available to whoever wants to see the list. In fact, my attitude was to publish the list earlier in terms of every payment, every bank account, every BVN. But we thought that would be exposing individual accounts to public scrutiny, and that is not fair enough for them. But the data there with the NDE, whoever wants to be investigated enough is there. I've told him, make it available to journalists alone. Every single payment, the data is there. It's a bulky document. Without the BVN, you can use it without the BVN, so you don't expose the BVNs of individuals. That is the openness with which we want to round off the program. People also said they saw pictures of us empowering people with cutlasses and that is not correct, because they don't understand the concept of the program. We were not empowering people with cutlasses and wheelbarrows. These were the equipment with which they did the manual work. I hope you understand me. So we are not giving it to them to say, this is what you now use to go and get employment. No, the empowerment was the 60,000 we gave to them each. And we also organized post-empowerment programs in terms of how they manage the monies. We did that, right? We told artisans and all that. Some of them invested the monies wisely. Some of them opened small shops just to empower them. So, there were so many testimonies of how it helped to boost their small businesses. So Okada riders, market women, and all of that. So, there were a lot of testimonies on that. So we did not empower. Let me be clear. We did not empower people with cutlasses and wheelbarrows. We did not. We did not. They were the tools, and we did not want to invest too much money on high-profile equipment for a 3-month job. People would have criticized us. We had very little money to buy the equipment, so we did not want to empower to start buying high-profile, machines to cut grasses and all of that. That would have been completely senseless, and people would have criticized us for that also. So I hope you understand that. At the end of the day, we refunded the balance of the money not paid, the little money remaining for those small, because we didn't get to 774. We wrote to the Mr. President and to refund the money to the Federation account, and he approved. That money was refunded to the Federation accounts. How much? I think something around 400 million? Just above 400 million was refunded to the Federation account from the CBN. After the implementation of the program. And then we now wrote to Mr. President, asking Mr. President that, because we took all these equipments that they used to carry out the program, we wrote to Mr. President and asked Mr. President to direct as to what to do with this equipment in our different stores, in all the local governments across the country. And Mr. President approved that those equipments should be converted to part of the equipment in the store of the NDE for their various empowerment programs. We have so many programs under the NDE. So we wrote to Mr. President to approve what to do with the remaining, those equipments we recovered and kept in our stores. That was what Mr. President directed. So those equipments are now, under the direction of Mr. President, part of the NDE stores across the country to use for their various programs, MEAS, small scale, and blah, blah, blah. All those programs they have under the NDE. I think that's all. So that's how we ended the program and wrote our report to Mr. President. Thank you.